Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking you to the Mesopotamian marshes in Iraq. This is a place where, for thousands of years, life has revolved around water. But now, that ancient way of life is in a head-on collision with the modern oil industry.
And this quote from Mustafa Hashim, who's just 23, really sets the scene. He's talking about a place that was just teeming with life, and now it's just quiet. His story, you'll find, is really the story of the marshes themselves.
So, let's get into it. Section 1. A Vanishing Paradise. To really get what's being lost here, you have to understand just how special this place is, or was.
I mean, just look at this contrast. It's night and day. We're talking about a place that many believe was the actual Garden of Eden, a cradle of civilization, and now it's facing a total man-made disaster.
And look, this isn't just some random swamp. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That's a big deal. It's a formal way of saying, hey world, this place matters to all of us. It's this incredible landscape, all fed by the Tigris River, and it's basically woven into our shared human history. And for people like Mustafa's grandfather, Qasid Wanis, well, water was everything. He's 87 now, and he talks about a time when cars were just not a thing. Didn't need them. He could hop in a boat and travel for miles, just from memory. It was a completely different universe.
Okay, so that brings us right to the heart of the problem. Section 2, the oil paradox. Because the fate of these marshes, it's all tied up in Iraq's national economy. And that economy is built on one thing: oil.
Yeah, just look at this chart. Oil isn't just important to Iraq's economy, it is the economy. It's over 95% of all their exports. Think about that. Nearly all the money the country makes from selling things to the world comes from oil. They are completely dependent on what they can pull out of the ground.
But here's where it gets kind of crazy, the real paradox. Iraq is one of the biggest oil producers on the planet, yet the lights don't stay on. They have daily power cuts. They actually have to buy electricity from other countries. All that oil money, it's not actually turning into reliable power for its own people.
And that huge national issue has a very real, very personal price. You can see it right here, across 3 generations of one family. The grandfather lived his whole life on the water. The father, a fisherman, had to quit. And Mustafa? To make a living, he had to go work for the same industry that he feels is destroying his home.
Which leads us to Section 3, Industry's Voracious Thirst. So how does this actually work? How is oil production literally sucking the water out of these wetlands?
Well, here's the kicker. This protected, supposedly sacred UNESCO site, it's sitting right on top of a gold mine. Or an oil mine, I should say. 3 supergiant oil fields. One of them is even called Majnoon, which literally means crazy in Arabic, because the amount of oil there is just insane.
And to get that oil out, they need a ton of water. So here's what they do. Step 1. They pump huge amounts of fresh water right out of the Tigris River, the river that keeps the marshes alive. Step 2. They send that water over to the oil fields. And step 3, they shoot it deep underground to push more crude oil up. It's basically a water for oil trade.
And the amount of water we're talking about is just mind-boggling. Just one of these oil fields, Hafaya, uses 60,000 cubic meters of fresh water every single day. To put that in perspective, that's like taking the entire daily water supply of a small city and just pouring it into the ground to get more oil.
And remember, this isn't happening to a healthy ecosystem. The marshes were already in trouble. You've got dams upstream in Turkey and Iran that have already choked off more than half the water that used to flow here. So the oil industry is basically coming in and taking a huge drink from a well that's already half empty.
Okay, so this takes us to Section 4. It's not just about the water disappearing, it's also about what's being left behind. And that's a legacy of pollution, a kind of destruction disguised as progress.
And that's exactly how Mustafa puts it. He worked for an oil company. He saw it from the inside. And he says, they call this development, but it's destruction disguised as progress. For the people living there, that's not just a clever phrase. It's their daily reality.
And this isn't just his opinion. We know from a confidential government report that there's devastating pollution,
We're talking alarming levels of hydrocarbons, heavy metals, contaminated drinking water. The report says it's caused a total collapse of local farming and fishing. It's that bad.
And this pollution is literally erasing history. Think about this. The nearby city of Basra was once called the Venice of the Middle East because of its beautiful canals. Today, those same canals are clogged with sewage and chemical foam. It's a tragic transformation.
But the story doesn't end there, which brings us to our final section, a fight for a future. Because faced with losing everything, their land, their water, their way of life, the people of the marshes are starting to fight back.
And Mustafa's journey is a perfect example of this. In early 2023, he was working for the oil company. By the summer, he'd quit. And by the end of the year, he was organizing protests, blocking the roads to the oil fields. He's gone from a laborer to a leader.
And his courage has had a ripple effect, even on his own dad. His father, Hashin, admits he was scared at first. He told Mustafa to stop. But now, he says his son opened his eyes. He sees that this is a political fight and that they just can't afford to be silent anymore.
And this fight is happening right now because the threat isn't slowing down. In fact, satellite photos show they're already digging for a new oil field right inside the so-called protected UNESCO area. So while people are protesting, the digging just keeps going.
At the end of the day, for Mustafa and everyone else fighting alongside him, it's about so much more than just water levels. As he says, they're fighting so that the next generation, their kids, can know the wetlands that their ancestors protected for literally thousands of years.
So that's what's happening in Iraq's marshes. And it leaves you with a really tough question, doesn't it? As the water disappears and a way of life with it, you have to wonder, what is the real price of progress?